Hi everybody, it is Allison Dawrant coming to you from my art table here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and I'm just going to zoom you in a little bit closer so you can see what I have to show you. This is just the sweetest little calendar, like an art calendar. It is the 2024 Artist Almanac, a collage fodder resource and daily calendar. I had no idea what fodder is. I still cannot define it on video here without really needing to look it up, but it really has to do with mixed media and collage and using items that you have in your art. And this little 2024 Artist Almanac was something that I had seen advertised by one of my artist friends. I actually just met Christine Karpiak recently because we are practically neighbors. We met in an online art course, and she's in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and I'm in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. So we had the pleasure of actually meeting each other once, and we're going to connect again. But I have been following her classes and her work, and she's such an inspiring artist, a really beautiful human. And this is just the most beautiful little handheld inspiration, almost what I think of as these art decks, you know, the tarot card, oracle card decks. This is a daily calendar where these artists on the back here, there's probably about 15 of them. They all contributed their art to, you know, a day of the year. Funny that I would open up to my birthday here, March 25th. And the other funny thing is, so I got this in the mail yesterday, and I had to look through it. I was just so excited. I couldn't wait. I thought, I'm not going to wait for every day of the year. I just really want to be inspired. So last night I was in bed, and funny, I had my yellow light on, or sorry, I guess I don't know if it's called a blue light, but it blocks out light from, you know, computers, screens, and it's supposed to help you sleep. So I often wear those blue light glasses, which are really yellow. And anyways, I'm totally sidetracking. Though, flip through here, and it's funny because I did flip through almost all of these little art papers, and looking at this one, it was a different color last evening because I had on those blue light glasses. So I have quite a laugh that when I look at art books in the evening before bed, and when I am filtering out blue light, I see color very differently. So it's quite neat, actually. And this deck you can purchase on Christine Karpiak's website, I believe, if they haven't sold out already. And these are all mixed media artists that I believe are on Instagram. So I can link Christine's Instagram account and her website. She does the most beautiful newsletters. And there's not a lot of people I subscribe to as far as artists' newsletters, just because I feel like we all get so much mail, emails, etc. So she is one that I'm really enjoying right now, which is great. So I just thought I'd share this. You know, this is just like, you know, having daily inspiration that you can look at and just really enjoy the colors, the textures, and decide, you know, what is it about, you know, the page of the day that you love, and what can you do creatively that inspires you from this deck. So it's just so cute, and what a lovely gift, right? Because it's so tiny, you know, for, you know, my sister-in-law is in London, England, and they have such small flats, like their living space is so tiny. And, you know, how cool, you know, probably not the easiest, not the most affordable to send to London, England, but anyway, great little gifts. So do check out Christine's work and this Artist Almanac. I'm not sure if this is the first one they've done. It's just really cool. So I wanted to share that. I am going to pull one of my own art poetry cards shortly, but first I really want to get out what's inspiring me, I'd say this month. So I did a video quite some time ago on Rae Missigman, and this book is Paint, Play, Explore, Expressive Mark Making Techniques in Mixed Media. I really am inspired by Rae's work, and this book in particular, I'm just not ready to part with. It was a book that I had purchased, and it's just all about artist mark making, creative mark making, and finding your style through art marks. And I was sort of pulled in by Rae's Instagram account. She has such a beautiful, inspiring Instagram account with a lot of great videos. I love her little art journals, and I also subscribe to Rae's newsletter, but I have purchased 2 paintings from her, and they're really, really tiny, but aren't these absolutely stunning? So it's tricky because there is a bit of a glare with the glass, but she incorporates the most tiny details in her work. And this was her tea bag series, which is incredibly inspiring and would be so much fun to try. So this was, it says green tea, and there's different art videos you can follow online, artists that use tea bags and they incorporate them into their artwork, which is just it's a really neat concept. Her stitching on here, I don't know if you can see, it is so, so tiny. So I've always done embroidery on my art, my watercolor paper and my canvases, but this is just a new level of interest for me. And I love purchasing art, but now that I'm an artist myself, I feel like the piece of art that I purchased really has to speak with me emotionally, and there was just something about this. I love her color combinations, the gorgeous turquoise and the bright pinks. I love the fine white mark making, and everything is just so small. And I think as an artist, I have always found it challenging to paint this small and kind of call it a finished work. There was a quote that I heard quite recently that the incredible thing about being an artist or a creative is that you don't ever finish a painting. You make the choice as to stop. You don't finish it, you choose when to stop. And I really, really liked that quote. When I first started painting, I was looking up videos on how to finish a painting. And yes, I get that there are ways, if you've been in art school or if you kind of follow those principles of art, following line work and symmetry and, complementary colors and, line work as a principle of design. I'm totally sidetracking, but I love the feeling that it is in the artist's control to just choose to stop painting. And then if you come back to it, there's that freedom to come back at any time and continue the painting. But nobody ever really just finishes a painting, they choose to stop. I feel like I beat up that quote the more I was talking about it. So I wanted to show you this second tea bag painting I had purchased from Rae's website. It's absolutely beautiful. It's that pop of pink that really speaks to me, but as well as the tiny little X in here, the stitching. I would love to be able to get out a sewing machine and learn how to do that stitching. I believe she uses a sewing machine and not hand stitching. I also really love this color combination, not colors I would typically choose, that rusty color and the greens and the blues. It just really speaks to me. So I had found these very affordable frames at Michael's here in Canada, and I love that this came with a mat. She had it very beautifully packaged, and I don't know her personally, but she seems like a really lovely person, and her art is so intricate. So you might want to check out these little pieces because she works in quantity, kind of like I do. She's really prolific, and she has a lot of this series for sale right now on her website, and she also has some really great courses. I hope to one day invest into one of her courses. I believe there's one right now about field notes and sort of journaling through your experience in nature and how to kind of make your own art journal and pull that together. Anyways, so that is Rae Missigman, and I will link her as well as Christine Karpiak. I'm just going to make sure I'm saying her last name right, Karpiak. So I'll link these two in my description, and I just want to make sure it looks like I'm still recording here. I'm going to just see if I zoom you. I'm going to zoom you back in. Yes, that is a good place to be. So after getting these little pieces from Rae in the mail, I was so inspired to paint small. So this is a frame. I'm going to now zoom you out. Okay, there we go. This is a frame I picked up, super affordable. I think I picked it up at like HomeSense or Winners here in Canada. I don't know if you guys get those stores, or Marshalls. It's sort of like, you know, they have like sales, liquidation sales, kind of like outlet store. And I find some frames in there that are quite affordable and make me think outside the box. So what I did, I really wanted to paint something that Rae had inspired me by. So painting small, and I tend to find it hard painting small. I can sit down and paint, you know, small, medium, large works, but to paint as small as, you know, this is a 5x7 mat, so it's probably like, I'm not sure, 4 inches by, I'm not sure, it's just a small painting, but to me it's finished, it speaks to me, it's beautiful. So I really was inspired to paint like that. So just last week I decided one evening I would, oh, there you can see my embroidery in here. Now this was experimental, so I unfortunately chose to do these little works of art on a very cheap piece of paper. This is watercolor paper that I had purchased, but it's really not the best quality, and it has a slightly gray tone to it versus a white tone that I'm used to working on, or more of a cream. So it was a challenge for me to do these little works, but what I had done was I had just taken this mat, and luckily I found this paper that fit, and I had just used a pencil or a water-soluble crayon, and I had just made marks as to where to put these little paintings. And I'm just going to put this where it won't get, once you get a mat dirty or pencil on it, you're in trouble. Just going to set that there. So this was my attempt. Oh, I did get a tea bag in there. Check it out. I had a rooibos chai, and yeah, I put it in there. I didn't have the confidence of really featuring the tea bag, and I think I had dried it out. It's probably still on my counter over there. My husband hadn't thrown it out already. He does not know that I use tea bags in my work yet, so that's going to be news to him. And yeah, so this is the little part of the chai. Steep 5 to 6 minutes, tea bag. And I was just playing around, and this exercise was really incredible because I did this all in one evening. It did take several hours, probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours, kind of on and off, getting my son settled to bed and then coming back to it, and then, you know, taking little breaks. But there's certain pieces in here I really love, and I don't think I love this enough to keep it in this frame. What I want to do is use this as sort of my practice piece. I'm going to cut up these works and incorporate them into new works, or sort of behind a mat. So I'm going to check out some smaller frames and cut them out, but that's just an example you can see of, well, my inspiration from Rae, the tea bag, the embroidery, which I've been doing for a while. You can see down here this embroidery, and over here I like this little piece. And what I did is I just kind of would jump around and keep adding color to each one, and really just trying to stay out of my head. And then I would come to the point where I would want to resolve the painting. I got that term from Helen Wells Art. I really like Helen Wells, and she talks about resolving her art journals and her work to get to a place where she can look at it and really love it. So I did that with each of these as best as I could, but there's some that speak to me more than others. So I can't wait to kind of share with you what they become. And we can do some of these little pieces together at some point. And let's see how focused I can stay today. Okay, I do want to do a little exercise with butterflies. All you need for this exercise is sort of an open mind, a non-judgmental art, and some Stabilo or water-soluble crayons, water-soluble materials. So I had used these Canadian, they're called beam paints, and they're non-toxic paints. I had purchased these recently to be able to do some fun painting with my son, and he's sort of at the age where he doesn't just create mud now. We still have muddy days, both he and I, but these beam paints are pretty awesome, and it's just a little family-run company out of Saskatchewan. So these, oh sorry, I don't think they're from Saskatchewan. I think they're from Manitoulin Island, if I'm saying that right, just a little island near, is it Ontario? I'm just totally drawing a blank. But anyway, beam paints, I will link. They are non-toxic, and they put the paints in these cute little, it's like a canvas type material, and they try to use really environmental ways, non-plastic packaging. So this was a spread that I had done while I was just sitting with my son, and he was doing his thing and I was doing mine. And I'm actually quite happy. It speaks to me, and it was a good way to play around with the paints. And this was, actually it was the same art paper, that grayish toned paper, that cheaper paper that I had purchased is the same as what's in here. So you can see I was cleaning my brush in here. There I was starting a painting, just not the highest quality paper. So this is one that I choose to do with my son. And this is, yeah, Montmartre, which I had purchased at HomeSense here in Canada. So it's great for just play. But I wouldn't do it for obviously selling paintings. This does look pretty cool. This was just done with an acrylic ink dropper, so Liquitex black ink, that acrylic ink, and it's permanent. It's not watercolor. You know, and why not? Let's just add a little color right now. I'm gonna be spontaneous and just go with what I feel. I love this lime green. I'm going to move my art journal, which I want to show you at some point. We'll see if we get there today. So if you're painting along with me today, you just need any kind of watercolors. And if you have some additional supplies, you know, that can go over top of dried watercolor, that's great. Or watercolor crayons. So what I'm doing is I'm just using this little watercolor, I believe it's like a porcelain dish. It's a nice white, so you can see your colors really well. And I'm just gonna pick a few colors. This one is called Milkweed. And I love this color, Robin's Egg. That's a great name. We had robins over the summertime in our tree out in our backyard. And I did see some blue eggs. So I like a lot of pigment when I paint, and I'm just gonna mix these colors up and just kind of go in here, and you can see that you can be really loose because this acrylic ink is repelling the watercolor. Let's just zoom in here. So you can do a drawing with a Sharpie, right? A black Sharpie paint pen or a permanent pen, and you will probably get a very similar effect to this. I'm going to go with, what color is this? Prussian blue. I do love Prussian blue. Maybe I'll just drop it in here. And I'm gonna go for another dark color to add contrast into my work. So that would be considered a principle of art, which is contrast. So if you're wondering, you know, not how to finish your painting, but if you're choosing how you want to finish it, maybe look at it as a black and white photo. Maybe take a photo of it and look to see if it has contrast. So contrast as a principle of art. I love contrast in my work, and I feel like sometimes when I don't have enough contrast, say I just have a lot of lights or a lot of darks, or maybe just a mid-range tone, the painting does not feel finished to me. So this one is, it's called Great Ocean. So I'm just choosing colors that kind of speak to me in the moment. So right now, a lot of blues. And the complementary color, if you know color theory, which I don't really know color theory, I sort of pretend I do when I do my videos. I know the basics, but I choose color very intuitively. But, oh, this color is, I think it's one of my favorites. What is this? Pumpkin spice. Beautiful. There we go. And then I'm going to add in a little bit more of pumpkin. So this one's just plain pumpkin. There's no spice added. We'll just add that in here. I'm kind of going outside the lines because I like that look. You can add a little bit of orange up here to move the eye around, and that will become more of a brown, that mix of the blue and orange. And again, the blue and green complement the orange, the warmer colors. And you can see I have a splatter here, which I actually really like. I'm going to keep that in. And I'm just craving on doing maybe, I don't use a lot of red in my work. This is strawberry, so I love how the names are a bit more intuitive than some of the, you know, quinacridone, rouge, orange, or whatever. So I'm just going to play around here. So I'm just really, to be honest, I've kind of zoned out. I'm trying to chat with you a bit about what I'm thinking, as well as, you know, some tips if you're fairly new to watercolor or if you like my style. And so I like to try and kind of talk as I go. Normally when I paint, I love listening to music or my fake fireplace on the TV, but when you're doing videos for social media, YouTube, Instagram, whatever, it can be really tricky because they don't let you have those background, you know, it's just, I know in Canada it can be harder to choose royalty-free music. It can take some time, and what am I saying? If I just have music on in the background, like my favorite music, it's harder to upload a video to it. The platforms don't always like that, so they like you to choose their music, something royalty-free. But I don't know if you listen to music when you paint, but I think when I'm doing videos, I really, really miss having music on. So for me, I really love Joshua Radin, Joshua Radin. I believe he's from the United States. Maybe Michigan, I'm not sure, I could be making that up, but I've seen him in concert a few times here in Calgary, and he does concerts in beautiful church spaces that have this acoustic sound that you really can't get from a big stadium. And I like that kind of intimacy when I listen to musicians, where you just feel like you're right there next to them, you know, that it's more about their voice and what you're hearing versus kind of what's going on with the people beside you. So that was a really good warm-up for me. One thing I want to do is just paint a little circle around some of these. I'm just kind of craving a bit more color over there. I love that pumpkin spice. Whoops. That covered it up. I almost want that transparent look. That's kind of neat, hey? Because it's almost like that drawing that I had done with the ink dropper of the acrylic ink, or again, your Sharpie pen, whatever you've drawn. It was just tiny, tiny little marks, and you can go back to it and make it into something. So, you know, that's one reason why I love doing videos with you all, is I'm discovering things as I do videos, because to be honest, I wouldn't have gone back to this painting and I wouldn't have tried this technique if I wasn't doing a video with you all. So it's kind of cool how I think it's like, I say that I do intuitive art for the most part, but I feel like I do intuitive videos because it's just what I feel in the moment. It's such a beautiful day. It is snowing so hard right now. We had 15-degree beautiful sunny weather yesterday, and it's gotten so cold here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, but the snowflakes are just huge and beautiful, and I just feel so lucky to be inside with you all. Well, you're not here with me, but you know what I mean. And I'm craving dark brown. So I don't know the beam paints, but I just went to put this away and I glanced at it and I just knew that I had to add dark brown in here. Isn't that funny how when you paint every day or regularly, weekly, you just really start to know what you love. And normally I would never use brown when I first started. I just would not have chosen that color. My 5-year-old would have, but yeah, adding mud to your work, like browns, neutrals, grays, creams, whites, black. White and black are considered neutrals. Adding those tints and shades of colors, tinting and shading. So tinting, adding white, right, or lighter colors. If you're tinting something, if you're adding a shaded color, you're adding a slightly darker version of that hue. And, adding the colors, those beautiful colors, next to neutrals like the black ink. It adds contrast, but it also makes those colors stand out, as well as adding the browns in there. And I love the way it just kind of blooms. Again, this watercolor paper is not the best weight. It's 90 pounds, I believe, so it's quite light. Ideally, you want over 140 pounds. But I'm just super happy with that little painting. What do I want to share with you today? I wanted to just show you quickly, this is how I clean my brushes with acrylic paint. And it's how I start new paintings. So when you have, say you bought a book that, maybe was all 90-pound paper, you don't use it as much anymore, maybe you're investing in the more expensive paper. This is a Canson mixed media journal, and it was 113 pounds or 185 grams. Now that is just not as heavy as I like these days. So when I do a big acrylic painting and I have all this paint on my brush, I do one of two things. Because it's so dry here in Calgary, and this is just something that works for me, when I use a foam brush, mostly foam brushes, I don't want to put my paint brushes in the freezer, but right now, if you go to my freezer, I have a whole bunch of foam brushes. Some are white, some are black, some are other colors. And I just wrap them up in either the glove that I was wearing. So if I was wearing gloves at the time of painting, I pull the glove over the foam brush and I put it in the freezer so the excess paint stays on there. And then when I get it out a week or a month, or hopefully not a year, but I have done that where I've forgotten them. My husband usually finds them. It's kind of embarrassing, but I, will thaw them out and then you can go back to painting with them. So don't wash that paint out of the sponge down the drain. You can brush it off with energy onto a new work. So I love this palette. And this was me painting 2 large paintings and just wanting to quickly get the paint off my brush. And I never would have put those colors together, but they just work. And then I can come back to it and then say, if I was like Betty Krause, I love Betty Krause art. I think she's from Croatia, living in California maybe. She's just beautiful. She does the fields of flowers and the abstract acrylic paintings. But if I saw this, I would think, okay, I can use a little bit of my pumpkin spice and just go over top of that gold acrylic paint. You can see how it repels some of it because it's a plastic. I can look for other spots and now just kind of add a little bit of watercolor, see where it dries and where it doesn't. There's a few places over the acrylic that it probably won't dry, but there's some places where it will dry in the watercolor paper. So this is giving me something to work with. So instead of looking at this as a blank page, I'm seeing this as an opportunity. So I would, if I was to just work on this right now, what I would do is take my Neocolor crayons, Neocolor 1s or 2s, and I would probably start with the Neocolor 1s. So I'm just gonna look to see, I'll try and find one that kind of stands out. So I think this is a Neocolor 1, it's well loved, it's a wax crayon. I think here's the other side of it, let's just see. Yes, Neocolor Caran d'Ache, Neocolor 1. So 1 meaning wax, which is non-water soluble. And I'm just gonna, with energy, add some of that color. And it's beautiful. I love, love, love that color. I might add some mark making in here. This is what probably Rae Missigman would do, is these little delicate marks. And when I started to add this, this is like a lime green. I don't know what the name is because I have, like I said, in Calgary, it's so dry, so they break, but they're still usable. So I'm just gonna add some mark making in here. I'm gonna put these away so I don't bump them. These are beautiful paints for non-toxic paints, and they're Canadian, I love that. It's always nice to support your own country when you can. Okay, so I'll just set that aside for a second. Give me a little bit more space. And so right now I'm thinking about painting this background that I had done. So breaking a blank page, it was already broken from me cleaning my paintbrush. Right now I'm adding in these marks with the Neocolor 1 wax crayon, so not water soluble. So if I was to paint over it, it wouldn't move because number 1, it's on acrylic paint, number 2, it's a wax crayon, so it's not water soluble. I do have the Neocolor 2 in the same color. So say I put this on, you know, I don't know, we'll just do right here. If you didn't like it, or if you painted over it, it would move and it becomes a watercolor. So there's benefits to both. For the underpainting, which is sort of what I'm doing, my initial mark making underneath, I'm using the Neocolor 1 so it doesn't move on me. So let's just choose another color. I'm trying to think of what color, what's speaking to you right now. What color do I want to do? I kind of want to do a neutral color. This is a dark purple. I don't think I'm feeling the purple. As I said, I don't use brown too much. I could do maybe just some sort of half circles that are kind of wiggly just to get them in the painting. And it's always good to do different sizes of marks. I didn't really follow that rule here, but that doesn't matter. I'll probably paint over it, but I like the look of these marks. And again, if you're like, was this a Neocolor 1 or 2? It was a 1, it's permanent, so it's not moving. And I really like that. I feel like I would add white. I really like adding white. Sometimes if I'm not sure what color, how to brighten up a painting. First though, I want to introduce you to, I was meaning to introduce you to, where is that? Oh, I know. No wonder I couldn't find it. That painting that I had done with the butterflies and all those marks, where is it? I think I'm gonna have to take this off without smudging it. Let's see if we can find those butterflies I did with my son. Here it is. And I had cleaned my brush off while I was doing a large acrylic painting with gold. I think it was the horn of one of my cows, and I had so much beautiful gold, so I put it on this painting, and I'm quite happy with it. But what I wanted to show you is this is water-soluble crayon, but it's not the Neocolor Caran d'Ache, it's a different product. It is Stabilo's. So these are beautiful. I believe they're non-toxic. I love using these with my son because he does have some struggles with dexterity. He's only 5. It's a really, really great way to be able to get color down instead of a small crayon. Old school crayons, they dry out, they break. They're okay, but these are incredible quality and they'll last you a long time. I use these in my work all the time. Betty Krause, I know, also uses these in her work that she sells. These are water soluble. I believe they're rainforest. What is it? Rainforest. They plant a tree. I forget what that symbol is, but they are more environmental than some products. Before I go off too much on these, I love adding these because they're thicker. They come with their own pencil sharpener. Where is it? Right here. So it's super wide. And you can tell I love this color. I use this color all the time. And they sharpen up beautifully. If I was Rae Missigman instead of a tea bag, I feel like, isn't that beautiful? I totally want to do that. But since it's water soluble, I don't know if I'll be able to put it in a painting. Isn't that cool? Maybe this one. Okay. We'll just set those aside. That's the problem with, I think, being a creative, is you want to find a way to repurpose things that probably should be thrown out. Okay, so I'm going to go back here. So all of these marks I made were with the Stabilos. So let's just add this beautiful green in here. And they go on nice and thick. And again, I think they're non-toxic. They're like, I think of them as like chapsticks almost. They're just like really a beautiful, smooth texture. And they have the most beautiful mark making ability. You can see I have the smaller marks that I had done in there with them. So as a principle of art, you want to make marks of different sizes, so not just all the same size. And I love how there's a bit of an overlap with the dried watercolor. You can almost see it underneath here. You can almost see that butterfly here. Now, when you wet this, it turns into beautiful watercolor paint, right? Like, isn't that just gorgeous? And so, you know, I could just add that in. Like, look at how much paint came off of that. So I'm just going to add that down here. And maybe over here. Maybe I'll just do another butterfly with it. Just a very abstract butterfly. I don't know if I like that. We'll just fade it out a bit. Oh, and there I smudged this one, which is not a big deal. There's a white Stabilo. So see this mark? You can add white, nice thick white. I love that. And then here, you can just sort of go back and hide it with like a mark, maybe like I've done over here with this other color. So just introducing you to these beautiful high quality crayons called Stabilo Woodies. So Woodies, Woodys. And let's check out this white. So if I was to do these thick, these are sort of inspired by Rae Missigman, these thick white lines, which are not perfectly round. You can just see how nice that white is. So don't get it wet. This is, again, watercolor. It's water soluble. I don't know how much I love it. So if I was really being particular and thinking, I tried this on, just like trying on a sweater and deciding you don't like the color, I thought I liked it, but I don't. Then the beauty of that, because you are a mixed media artist, you know what you had underneath, you know that you could remove, sort of like chalk. You can draw with chalk, you know, if you're just wanting to do a drawing, but you're not sure if you want to commit. you know, if you have a huge painting on a canvas and you want to say, I want to do like a really big flower in here, then you may decide, you know what, I don't like it, I'm going to remove it. And you can actually do that with any water-soluble crayon, right? Or chalk. And because this is good quality paper, I haven't put a hole in my paper yet. And I know I like white on here, but just not in that round mark. That looks really good on Rae's paintings, but it's not speaking to me. Trying to decide other colors that would look good in here. This has been like one of my go-to colors lately. I really, really love it. So my page is still a little bit wet. So you know what? We could just go back to a slightly different activity. Oh, I know, we can pull an art poetry card, because the reason I published this deck of cards was for myself, because I want to be more mindful with my days. You can see this deck is well loved. I already have some kind of paint on the box, but anyway, that's good, it's well loved. And in order to shuffle these cards, I'm going to split it, not in half, but I'm going to split it twice, because it's really hard to shuffle, especially with all my eyes on me right now. I'm hoping I have some eyes on me anyway. Some of my loyal people, thank you for watching me, even though I kind of go off track and I get so inspired by everything that it's hard to focus some days, but I think videos really help me as well. So let's just choose a card, see what card we're gonna get. Right now, this is my painting, Quiet, and I'm looking at the word quiet. I'm also looking out the window with the incredible snowfall right now. It's so beautiful. And the card that I have pulled is my painting that I had painted for the art poetry deck. So when I was just starting the course to create my own art deck or oracle deck, I did these little small paintings. At the time, I thought I needed to paint small for all the cards. So I did this little, it's probably less than 5 by 7. It's pretty small. I'm really, really happy with it. Actually, it makes me want to teach you how to paint this. It's fairly simple, but I have some little tricks. And this card says, allow for abundance and be open to receive. So I feel like this style of art poetry this style that I have that I call art poetry paintings, this reminds me normally like of a garden in the sky, sort of what I wish to see in my garden, what I want to plant. I took the course to create my own oracle deck to bring abundance into my life. So I love that this deck is published and I'm sharing joy around the world with this art deck. And so I feel like I absolutely have, through the painting process, kind of allowed for abundance in my life, and I'm very open to receiving it. And I think when you visualize something, so during the course, we were told to kind of visualize holding our deck. So before we are even done, what type of card or deck, what do you visualize that you're holding? What is your own? What colors does it consist of? What theme? You know, is it animals? Is it words? Is it just royalty-free images that maybe you have collaged on and then added colors to? So really, there's something about visualizing abundance coming into your life. I feel like as visual artists, you know, it's really important to kind of map out colors that you love, mark making that you love. And ultimately, when you're doing what you love, when you're creating regularly and art that speaks to you and only you would be so surprised how it will resonate with other people. So, you know, if you're working towards finding your own style, just not to get discouraged, because you will sort of be brought back to your own style through emulating other people and through doing, whether it's, if you look up vision boards or mood boards, interior designers use them. And I know different artists use those boards. And sometimes, especially at the beginning of the year, I like to sit down and just do a quick board of like, a huge sheet of paper with, let's just use this as an example, just getting color down that you love, and then just adding mark making that you love. So for me, I really love adding these little, I don't know if they're birds or butterflies or what they are, but I really love this mark and adding that to my work. So, putting that down, and then maybe I would put down polka dots, so of different sizes. Right now I'm looking for my smaller pen and I can't find it, so I'll have to just do some larger polka dots. But getting down marks that you love. So sort of like having something to visualize and kind of bringing it into your life without realizing it. If you've purchased, say, a painting from an artist and you're like, what is it about this painting that is speaking to me? The pop of pink for sure. So, maybe on your mood board, your vision board, you want to add a pop of pink. I am looking right now. I'm gonna see if I can get this neon pink pencil crayon. This is my son's pencil crayon, actually. It's not super bright, but you get the idea. Having that pop of neon, that is something that I love, that really speaks to me. Really, really, really like that. And then so, if you're just feeling stuck, grabbing a piece of paper, or cleaning your brushes, going to that piece of paper and looking around your house, looking at the clothes you wear, the patterns. What do you love about what you're seeing? Maybe going on Pinterest or, Instagram, without going down the rabbit hole, maybe saying I'm going to spend like 20 minutes and I'm going to look up mixed media artists or mark making, and then pulling from what you see. So not pulling the entire idea, but just pulling elements of it. So right now I'm loving that yellow next to that yellow ochre and the bright yellow and the turquoise and the white. I mean, really, I love the whole thing. But just, or being inspired, say, grabbing a glue stick and seeing if you can throw this on with some matte medium and experimenting, reminding yourself to play and experiment. So just seeing this right now, I want to add some of that dark turquoise. I'm not sure if I'm going to get to the whole reason as to why I wanted to do this video today. I was wanting to paint those butterflies, but I have no idea. I had to set my timer because I have to pick up my son from his preschool. And so you can only do so much in one day, but this has like filled my cup. So I really, really hope that you all have gotten something out of this video today. But it's given me a break. So instead of prepping for my art show, which I tell you, I would be totally kind of obsessing over, and you're never really ready for those things, are you? You can always, especially with this show, you can always do more because we can add as many pieces as we want. So I just have to really focus on, okay, what do I need for self-care right now? And that's actually just to paint. So I'm adding in just these colors together because it reminds me of this painting. And then maybe just adding some white next to it. And then maybe adding that yellow ochre, which again on this neon background is totally different. But just kind of playing around, because I can always paint over this, right? I can paint over some of these marks with acrylic paint. I know that I have a base now that I'm excited about. All of a sudden I want to add gold. I I want to add, I have this Uniball Japanese pen, Uniball Signo, and it's a beautiful, beautiful gold kind of fineliner pen. And just going to see if you're zoomed in or out. Yeah, there you are. And actually this is really, really hard to see, but adding, do I have my other gold paint pen? I don't know if I have it. I think this one's, oh, this has ran out. Wow, it lasted a long time. Okay, so I need to definitely replace this pen. This is a bronze, so it's the next best thing. And so I'm just gonna do some fun squiggly plants on here. And I don't know if you can see those at all. But again, this is just experimentation. It's just play. So I really, really love the look. I love the look of that, and I'll just show you a bit closer what I am doing. Just gonna see if I have it. This little art journal I've been working on. We can do one in here maybe. Let's just see if it will work. So I'm doing a line with kind of a squiggle. And then I'm going to add almost another petal with a squiggle, and then a smaller one because, you know, line and size are a principle of art. So if you do different sizes, it's appealing to the eye of the observer, and I think the eye of the beholder. And I'm just going to kind of do some line work in here and wiggle the pen a little bit because it adds shimmer. And I don't have a hard time with wiggling my hand because it's natural. I'm going to add some little round buds. Okay, let's just see if you all can see that. There we go. So see in that light. I really like that. So again, that's just like a mark making. That's mark making that speaks to me. Oh, did I stop talking about? Okay, how do we leave off? Yeah, allow for abundance and be open to receive. Yes, so this painting, I love to do, like, think of it like gardens in the sky. So grabbing some watercolor, and I'm probably gonna run out of time, but like if you grab, this is 113-pound watercolor paper. And if you just, I'm just gonna grab my ocean paper watercolor set that's well loved. And I'm just gonna add the color wherever I feel like it. I'm using some warm colors, reds, yellows. And I'm just throwing color around and not really overthinking it. I'm sort of thinking about doing a rounded tree shape. I'm going to use my gouache actually, just because my watercolors are not activated and I think I'm going to have not a ton of time. So one tip, I mix watercolor, I mix gouache. This is gouache, which is like a watercolor and acrylic paint all in one. Stone Ground Paint Co. is a Canadian company. And any gouache, though, is awesome. I just had purchased this palette to try it out. I'm fairly new to gouache, but it's just more opaque, so it's not as transparent than watercolor. And then I'm going to throw in like some beautiful brights, like maybe some bright yellow. I think it would be great to throw in some transparency in here. You can see I'm trying to kind of connect it with water without overthinking it. And I'm seeing right now, if I was to drip this, it would drip from the pools coming from 1, 2, 3, 4 places. So I don't want that. I want it to be a more central drip. And so let's just say I want it to drip from, I don't know, maybe this orange right in here. And I'm going to tilt my round watercolor brush down, and I'm just going to gently dab a few areas of the painting so it doesn't drip everywhere. And I'm just, you can see, I'm kind of controlling it. And here we go. I can always add more water and tap it again. There. For those of you that use my video as ASMR and you're falling asleep, now you're awake. There's a little pigment in here. And what we're gonna do is just play around with this, and we're gonna add, you can add acrylic paint if you want. So I have this little jar of acrylic paint handy, and this is not a watercolor brush, it's a cheap Crayola brush. And I'm just gonna add a little bit of this pink that I had mixed up. It's a little bit dry. We'll add, oops, I just threw it at the patio door. Okay, so I'm just gonna add a little bit. Whoa, that's kind of cool how it feathered out. I'm gonna add a little bit in here, not in too many places, but just for interest. And then again, I'm gonna clean my brush, adding energy onto a new page. Whoops, I almost dipped in my water glass. That's not good. I always thought there's no way artists, like I see videos of artists pretending to drink out of their paint water, and I'm like, that just is not gonna happen. That's just set up. But I think I almost did it. Okay. See, I use the same peach jar. This is my drinking water glass jar. Sorry, Mom, if you're watching. She's like, why do you drink out of these glass jars? And this is my paint water. Okay. And then I'm going to switch back to my watercolor brush. And I love dropping in bright color. So I'm going to drop in, let me see. What color do I want to do? I think I need a bit more contrast. So like just adding in, still wet enough, I can add in some darks, just in different areas of this kind of tree, this garden in the sky. Right now, it's actually, I feel like at the ugly teenager phase, they call it. It's when you feel like you're painting, you're not loving it, but when you revisit it, you can totally learn to love it. It's just at a stage that's not very comfortable. I'm gonna drop in some more orange and just let it move around. And so this is the idea. You let it dry and then you add in your mark making over top. And I'll show you some tricks if we have time to really make it more appealing to the eye. Unless you're just painting for yourself and as a hobby, it really doesn't matter, right? It can be whatever you want it to be, just for yourself. I'm just gonna add some of my little birds. I like how that orange is running down, so I'll just let it go ahead. And it's pretty thick. Woo, there we go. And I'm gonna put one over here, try not to smudge. And then I'm gonna use my, here I will definitely smudge it. So what I'm gonna do is take my Stabilo Woody and maybe just, instead of adding this little moon or sun or this round mark, I'm gonna put it right over here. Okay, and I'm pushing down fairly hard on this water-soluble crayon. And what I really like to do is grab a darker color of the same crayon. Like this turquoise is gorgeous. And I'm just gonna take it over. And then I'm gonna rub it around with my finger. And you can actually make it more round. You can kind of smear it. Can you all hear my fridge? I don't know, it's a pretty loud fridge. It's got a bit of a hum going on. Okay, so this was super fast to paint, and I can come back to it and just add mark making that I love over top. It's quite wet here, so I'm just gonna dab it up a bit. And I'm gonna add probably some of that line work with a black permanent paint pen. I feel like I'm gonna smudge quite a bit of it, so I'll just kind of add one here and maybe one here. I'm kind of risking getting my paint pen wet, which you don't want to do. I can probably, whoops, I think I did get it wet, but that's okay. Hopefully it still works. Normally when I paint, I do it in stages. You know, I paint for, say, 20 minutes and then I let it dry and then I come back to it. So still looks totally different from this, but there's so many beautiful marks in here. I did polka dots and dashes, and I feel like we're close to running out of time. So I'm gonna let that dry, and I'm just gonna say to you all, thank you for watching today. And I really appreciate all of you and your support. And, you know, if you are painting to sell your work, just know that it just really finding your style and being able to sell, there will be an audience for your work. It just takes practice, showing up every day and doing the work. You know, it's not easy. It's a commitment, kind of like exercise, but you will get there, and you know, you will find your own style if you just keep practicing, emulating, and as long as you love what you're doing, just never force it. If you feel like you're forcing it, take a break, or, you know, maybe simplify what you're doing. Just put a color down that you love. Oakley, I'm almost done. I'll be right there. Oakley's wondering why there's so much snow and he hates wearing his winter booties. So I'm sorry, Oakley. Okay, come over here. Want to say hi? Okay, I'm gonna sign off. Thank you so much, guys. We'll see you soon.